I just want to hear some Earth, Wind, and Fire. Let that roll, Dave. Let's just play Earth, Wind, and Fire tunes. Very, very underrated. Great band. Jack has no idea who Earth, Wind, and Fire is, or do you?
I've heard of them, and this song's it's from Seinfeld, so I know that.
There you go. So you watch Seinfeld?
I love Seinfeld. Seinfeld is so good.
I like Seinfeld. I wasn't one of those people that, I can recite, like, episodes and lines
Neither
and
can
stuff
I,
like that. I know, like, Jay can do that.
Yeah.
It's impressive and creepy all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But you go, wow, Jay, you remember that? Wow, it's kind of weird. You remember that dialogue?
Yeah,
perfect.
But this is the song that Elaine does the thumb dance to. So.
Yeah. That's the thing about Seinfeld. Again, there's going to be some people that are like Seinfeld, but there's certain things you remember, like not so much episodes. Like for me, it's like the soup Nazi.
Yeah.
The master of your own domain.
Oh, man.
The Elaine dance.
The contest.
The contest. I mean, there's certain things, Festivus. There's certain things.
It's coming up. So December 23rd. Mark your calendars.
It's Festivus, the airing of grievances. We should do a Festivus show here.
We should. A whole
fun.
Seinfeld
the
show.
airing of grievances.
Oh,
That'd be fun. That'd be good. All right. What was that? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Dave. But before we air our grievances, time to get the little mood going. We got some Gamecock news. Kyle Kennard tearing it up with some more awards.
Yeah.
But hey, let's get a little sandstorm in here to get you started.
Time to get hyped.
Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm.
Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
Once again, a little bit of sandstorm to put you in the right mood. Sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Here on the game, Extra Point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler. Once again, Tyler wants days off. Jack, I don't understand it.
I don't get it either. I
don't get it, man.
Where is the man these days?
No, you're here, I'm here.
Yeah.
Dave's even here.
I know. The captain's here.
Yes.
The captain needs to be here with his ship, so.
That's right. Dave's here to go down with the Titanic.
Yeah.
That is the Extra Point today. All right, so Kyle Kennard, Walter Camp, first-team All-American. At this point, anything that goes to Kyle Kennard in postseason awards, or Dylan Stewart or Lenora Sellers for freshman awards, we should not be surprised at all.
No, look, he totally deserves everything that's been coming his way. Did he win the Lombardi the other day? I didn't hear anything about it.
I don't think he did, or we'd have heard a ton about it.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a finalist.
Yeah.
But I tell you, obviously he won the Nagurski.
Yeah.
Now first-team Walter Camp All-American. There's been some other awards from other outlets and things of that nature. Look, this is once again, as we learn about this transfer portal world we live in. Now, last year when Kyle Kennard decides he's going to come to South Carolina through the portal, did we have a parade?
No, because, he's one of these smaller, Georgia Tech's not a small school, but no one's really heard of him like that. And it's the same with Demetrius Knight and Torcelli Simpkins. Yep. So no parade. And, Gamecock fans probably were criticizing these moves back then because they're like, oh, he's just not the big name, who's this?
They were probably looking more at Montrell Goodwine because he played at Alabama. Because he was a five-star kid coming out of high school and transferred from Bama.
Exactly. And
that's the lesson we learn, right?
Yeah. Not every player that comes from Bama, Georgia, Texas is made out to be good. Now, I'm not saying Montrell Goodwine's not good, but he obviously wasn't playing a ton at Alabama. Hence why he came to South Carolina.
I mean, I think and look, Goodwine could stay. He's got another year eligibility.
Yeah, he could be that guy next year.
He could pop next year and be one of these guys. It's just the idea. We look at brands so much, and we look at name. We look at, 5-star out of high school. He went to Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Sometimes when guys transfer from those schools and they were high-level recruits, maybe it just means that they're not as good as everyone thought they were going to be. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, stars don't mean anything, I don't think.
Once you get on the collegiate level, man.
Yeah, rankings don't mean anything. Like, you could be, I'm trying, I can't think of an example, but you could think of a guy that's probably like 1 or 2 stars and makes it. I mean, again, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you see a guy that comes in 2-3 star and he develops, he grows, he matures, he gets better, bigger, stronger, faster, and then all of a sudden you're like, We've heard this a million times. Why didn't anybody recruit him out of high school? Because he wasn't this guy coming out of high school.
Exactly.
And Kennard, look, we saw his numbers, 8 sacks at Georgia Tech, 4 of them in one game against poor Wake Forest. He killed those guys single-handedly. And then he shows up. And my thought when Kennard showed up was like, wow, here's a veteran edge pass rusher who we see the resume he can get after quarterbacks. I don't think any of us were going, hey, South Carolina just got a guy that can win the Nagurski. No, obviously not.
It's never like that. And he's on the verge of breaking Clowney's sack record too. It's like he got that close. Like no way. Like that's the payoff for whatever you paid to get him and all that. Totally worth it without question. That is making on your investment.
Yeah, and like even Demetrius Knight shows up. And, you know, he comes from Charlotte, and you're like, the city? No, the school. Oh, okay. And when just looking at, like, his, when he was coming in, just kind of reading about it or just getting some idea. Oh, good. He's really fast. He's really fast. He can go sideline to sideline. South Carolina needs some speed in the linebacker room. But to watch him develop the way he did through this year, and by the last half of the year, Jack, he was blowing stuff up everywhere.
Oh, man. He was so fun to watch this year. And just his tenacity, like the will that he has just to go all over the field and be a wrecking ball. Like that's what South Carolina linebackers are now. Like Debo Williams obviously has been that. Bam is always like that. But, man, D-Knight adds a whole nother layer to what that linebacker room does.
And how many times, we've talked about it on the halftime show, how many times did you see, like, a ball carrier break the first level of the South Carolina defense? You're like, uh-oh, that could be a big play. And then here comes, like, whether it's 17 or 0 or whatever, come flying out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it's a 2-yard gain.
Yep. We saw it in the Clemson game when they went for it on 4th down and they didn't get it. So
yeah, I mean, you saw
happens
it there.
all the time.
You saw that, like, and go back, and Dylan Stewart obviously was a freshman, but Dylan Stewart's pressure on Cade Klubnik forced the throw to Maffa that was behind him that he went off Maffa's hand, and Knight picks it off. Game over.
Yeah.
Speed, playmaking ability, athleticism helps to have that on defense, Jack.
Yeah, I'll always go back to the play he made against Oklahoma on that fake punt where I don't know what Oklahoma was doing. They're down by like 20-something points. They're already waving the white flag. But, I mean, he snuffs it out, the fake punt, and it's a 5-yard loss. And it's like, man, crazy. Him and Kennard just so good this year.
The best part about that Knight play was not only did he diagnose it, but then he beats the block.
Oh, yeah, like it was perfectly read.
Yeah, and so I guess the point is, like, Kennard, with all these awards and all the love that he deserves, especially early in the year, the first 3 quarters of the season, he's just killing people.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess it's just when this transfer portal opens and you see guys showing up, don't just automatically go, okay, what kind of star was he out of high school? Okay, what program is he coming from? Sometimes guys come from places and you don't expect what happens, and all of a sudden you go, wow, didn't see that coming. And we saw that with Kennard. We saw that with Simpkins. We saw that with Knight. I mean, Rocket Sanders, we were like, if he's healthy, we know what we got there.
Yeah.
We hope. But some of these guys came from places and ended up being vital pieces to a 9-win team.
No, most definitely. And Rocket was your blue chip guy that you knew, like, okay, like when he's healthy, like you said, Terry, he's a beast. But these other guys, you had to do a little bit more homework on them. And, hey, the payoff is tremendous. And this is what South Carolina does. They go out and find these diamond in the rough type of guys and make them into studs.
And the other part of it, too, is that Shane, and again, I'm going to use this word, and people do roll their eyes and they throw up in their mouth. He looks for guys that fit the culture. Mm-hmm. He wants certain type of guys to fit the program and fit the culture. It's not just let's go chase the guys with the most stars out of high school or the guy that is coming from the biggest name program. He's actually looking for guys also that fit what they're about.
Yeah, which is totally fine with me. Like, people want to roll their eyes, whatever. Like, it works, obviously. And, you know, just I trust his evaluations and that entire staff, and they know what they want. If they see a guy that they meet and it doesn't work, they're going to move on to the next guy. Like, they're not wasting their time, which is a pretty good mindset to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, and the other thing is when you're a 9-win team and you've built this momentum with a 6-game win streak and you were teetering on the college football playoff, guys in the portal look at you different if you're coming off a 5-7.
Yeah. Last year we weren't hearing all this buzz about Carolina. Like, we were hearing about what's going to happen to Shane Beamer and stuff.
Oh, I was at SEC Media Days. I remember telling the story when I came back. had a few guys national writers who cover college football, and I'm not going to say who they were, but maybe I will. No, I won't. But
Don't want to call anyone out.
I had guys come up to me during those few days and say, "Okay, so Beamer on the hot seat." I said, "No,
It's year 4.
I said, "No." I said, "Even if they struggle, I go if they go 0-12, there might be a problem." I said, "But no." I said if they have another 5-7, he'll be on the hot seat in 25. I go, he's not on any hot seat in 24. I had another guy come up and go, "So, who's going to be the head coach of South Carolina next year?" I said, "Shane Beamer." He just kind of looked at me and laughed. I go, "I'm telling you, there's no hot seat here going into 24.
He's a good coach.
So that's where this thing was at SEC Media Days. It was also, I remember Shane getting up, about them getting picked preseason 11. He goes, "We own it. We deserve it. We were underachieving, but we're better than that." And everybody goes, "You got to say that. You're the head coach." Well, now you have a 9-win season.
Yeah, who's laughing now?
Exactly. And so just like Lamont Paris, next to last or last. All right, good. Okay. Yeah. All right, we'll see.
Exactly.
We'll see.
And it's going to be the same stuff next year because the SEC has all these big brand teams and stuff. Like Bama is going to be picked probably second, to be honest, even though, let's face it, feels like they're kind of on the downward a little bit.
There's legit question marks moving forward about Alabama football.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally. If they have another 9-3 season, I think, all these, T-Town is going to be in explosion. Like, it's going to be,
Isn't that funny?
Kalen DeBoer pitchforks in front of his house. Like,
Kalen DeBoer just all he'll be doing is ordering Uber Eats, Amazon.
He won't be going out ever again.
Won't leave the house. Kids will be homeschooled. It's funny. Think about how good Saban had Bama. You and I are saying this. Another 9-win season, and there's a lot of trouble in Tuscaloosa.
Which is crazy. But that's the standard that people have for Alabama. And, 9-win seasons are fine. Like, hey, they might end up winning 10 games this year, and that would be a big issue. Like, the fact that you went to the ReliaQuest Bowl.
That is.
Which, South Carolina fans would probably be fine with. Like, that's the difference between the standard there and because the winning isn't like that here necessarily. This is kind of new for South Carolina, and the more it happens, the more you kind of get to that Alabama level.
Think about what Saban did to put them at a level of, if they weren't in the college football playoff, 5 people are going to the bowl game.
Yeah,
they don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care which bowl game it is. It could have been a New Year's Day bowl, and Bama people are like, "It ain't the college football playoff. I'll stay home. I ain't going. What a waste of my time."
Which I think it's dumb. But nowadays it's like, hey, like, you lose out on the rest of your NIL money if you don't go. I think so. It's like, I don't know. I don't think it's
insane.
That's a whole nother. The opt outs is a whole nother thing. But yeah,
it's insane.
But Bama, it's not looking great.
All right, extra point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler today and on Monday. Jack's here. So is our buddy Captain Dave, keeping pushing the buttons for us. All right, transfer portal. We'll check maybe any news and dirt and updates and some ideas with the latest from the transfer portal for South Carolina. Also, there's a new head coach at North Carolina.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. Never coached in college. What are we doing here with this guy? We got that coming up here on the Extra Point. Also this hour, we'll give you a pair of tickets to go see South Carolina tomorrow against USC Upstate. 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip here on the game in Columbia. Also, our affiliate in Myrtle Beach. We'll give you a pair of tickets between now and 10 to go check out Lamont Paris and his crew at CLA tomorrow. It's the Extra Point. Terry Ford, Jack Veltri, David Dare. We go till... Jack goes till 10. We hang out till 11 in the game. Extra point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler today as he's off. Jack Velcher's here. Dave is here as well as we roll. Jack's part till 10. We go to 11, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Wes and Chris right here on the game. All right, so transfer portal season is open. We've seen, like, around the country, we've seen some stuff. Seen a few guys pop around, like Connor Wegman goes to Houston from A&M.
That was random, to be honest.
It was a little weird. I mean, again, former 5-star recruit.
Yeah.
Remember not this past year, but the year before he got hurt, he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Then he came back this year and looked pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And lost his gig.
Marcel Reed.
Mm-hmm. So we've seen some bigger names fly around. South Carolina so far, I mean, there's visits being lined up.
Yeah, they got a lot of guys coming down on visits. And, the big one they're trying to get on the visit, I think, is Casey Concepcion from NC State, which seemingly hasn't happened yet, but definitely would be good if they got him on a visit, and then you go from there.
Tell you what, that guy, especially his freshman year,
yeah,
he was making plays. He was making plays as a receiver, a running back. They moving him all over the formation. This last year, look, they had trouble. They had trouble on both sides of the ball.
They weren't very good this year.
A lot of trouble at quarterback last year, and I think it affected the entire offense. So Concepcion's numbers went down.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a guy with a lot of ability. He's made plays. You could get him to go with what you already have, because Nick Harbor started to look like a wide receiver at the end of the year, which was cool. Jared Brown can come back with eligibility. Mazeo Bennett, in moments, showed us the potential. Then if you could add a Casey Concepcion to that mix, and plus you got, 75 freshman wide receivers coming in from this recruiting class or whatever.
Too many.
It's crazy. So Concepcion would be a really nice get. You got to get him on campus.
That's the big thing. And you're competing with other big SEC schools that have lots of money. So that's the trouble of it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it feels like Dane Key, who we talked about when this thing first started, might end up somewhere else.
Yeah, the Kentucky wide receiver. And it also seems like Berrien Brown, the other wide receiver and special teams guy for the Wildcats, might be ending up at LSU.
I say the word is LSU.
Yeah, so Key, we'll see where he ends up going, but it definitely does seem like, again, they have so many wide receivers coming into where I think they're going to be fine, especially with the returnees as well, but I think you would like to add another guy there for sure.
It would be nice to get a dude who has been there, done that. He's got a resume of production that he can give you stuff because he's done it before. If you get one of those guys to go with everything else you have,
for sure, because
you figure, okay, the thought process, Mazeo Bennett will get better in his sophomore year. Feels like Nick Harbor, it's getting there, right? We saw some moments there in the last about 3-4 weeks, where Harbor, you're like, oh, wow, that was a wide receiver thing.
He
Look
can
at
do
him.
that.
Look
Wow.
at him.
He can
Look at
run
him.
routes.
Oh my God,
he can catch the ball.
and so you feel like there are some good moments. And Jared Brown, when he was healthy, made some, again, he was playing out of position. He's a slot receiver playing boundary receiver.
That's the thing, man. Yeah. It's just, and he was also banged up this year. So I expect him to have a big year next year. Because look, when he's out there and healthy, he can make plays. We saw a bunch this year.
All right. So Horatio Fields from Wake Forest. The report is from some guy named Wes Mitchell that Horatio Fields will come in for a visit. The Wake Forest wideout led the team in receptions with 39, averaged about 12 yards a catch. Again, a guy with some track record. Wake Forest, not as explosive on offense since Sam Hartman had left them from a couple of years ago. But here's a guy, again, who has some productivity in his past. And if you bring a guy like that in, that's helpful. Yeah, would you rather have Dane Key? Sure. Casey Concepcion, you feel like, but Horatio Fields does have a track record of been there, done that, so to speak.
And here's the thing. He can be even better in an offense that actually functions. Like South Carolina was scoring a ton this season, and big part of that is Lenora Sellers. And that's the other thing. You can sell guys on the fact of, hey, want to come play with a future stud, potential Heisman candidate next year? Sounds good to me.
I mean, this offense is on the upswing, right?
Yeah.
If you're a wide receiver, look, if you're Casey Concepcion or Horatio Fields, you see the potential here, the hole for a go-to type receiver or number one guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of pieces of potential in that wide receiver room right now, but there's no, he's the dude.
Exactly.
If you're Casey Concepcion, you could be the dude.
Which makes it even more enticing. Look, if guys care about money and all that stuff, that's one thing. But if you care about the other aspects of the game, like the winning and being in a good program that's going to get you to the next level, which I would hope is most guys' goals, this is the place to do it, in my opinion. It just all the right reasons to come here. We're literally breaking them down.
Also, Kelby Collins from Florida will come in for a visit. Played some edge, played some interior.
Which is what they need.
Yeah, I mean, because we saw the Holy Grail this past year, right? Two edge guys basically racing to the quarterback to see who can knock the snot out of him first.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be able to replicate that again. Somebody on the other side from Dylan Stewart who can also cause pressure.
Most definitely. And look, this is a guy that South Carolina recruited out of high school a little bit. So I don't know what is going to end up happening. He could always end up going to one of these other schools that maybe he was recruited by out of high school. I know Bama and Georgia were definitely in on him heavily. I think they were his final three along with Florida. So would be good to get an SEC guy in there. We'll see what happens.
And another guy, SEC-ish, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, former five-star, came in at Jimbo's phenomenal
A&M.
class a couple years ago at A&M. How'd that work? Where's Jimbo now?
He's making money.
I tell you what, talk about a lottery ticket.
I think it's the best job ever to be a fired SEC head coach.
With a buyout.
You make so much money for doing nothing.
But, he laughs at Muschamp's buyout, though. He goes, that's all you got, Will?
But look at Will. He's living his best life now. Analyst, whatever he's doing.
Will's okay.
Yeah, he's doing just fine.
Hanging out with Kirby, he's good. Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, former five-star, came in on that big, iconic, record-setting recruiting class at A&M. He's in the portal. He's been dinged up a bit in his career. He will visit South Carolina as well. But just like Collins, Dindy there'll be a lot of competition for this guy because of what he was coming out of high school.
No, people see the star and they're like, oh my God, we got to go get this guy. We got to go get this guy. And, it's fans, coaches, everyone. But, we'll see what happens. But, look, A&M's recruiting class from that year, a lot of studs. And some of them are falling out. Maybe you could pick off one of them.
A lot of studs are no longer at A&M from that class. Matter of fact, when you just recruit for stars, you get a lot of me guys.
Yeah, you don't want that. Mm-hmm. You want the 3-4 gritty type of guys that make big plays.
All right. Jack Veltry's here. Terry Ford hanging for Tyler. Dave's here as well. It's the Extra Point. The Lawyer Lisa Special Teams contest is still happening. We're going to run it through the bowl game. So go to 1075thegame.com. Once you see that little flippy thingy that says Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, click on it, fill it out, hit submit. I'm just guessing this. Whether South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown or not, we're giving away the money. That's my guess. So get in. Your chance to win. Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest here on the game. All right, North Carolina made a head coaching hire. Again, some guy with no college football coaching experience. What are we doing here? If you look at past history, this is not going to work. But maybe because this guy is the greatest coach in the history of the NFL, and he might stumble around a little bit, but let's talk about could this possibly work. Mm-hmm. We'll get into that next with Jack. And here, some cuts from Bill Belichick at his introductory press conference as well. It's the Extra Point. Terry Ford, Jack Veltry, David Adair hanging out here on the game. All right, extra point. Terry Ford, Jack Veltri, Captain Dave hanging out with us as we roll till 10 here on the game. Of course, Jack always sponsored by PDL Wine Pool and Spa. All right, so Bill Belichick is the new head coach of North Carolina. Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director, by the way. How North Carolina has affected Bubba Cunningham? The guy named Bubba is the AD at North Carolina.
That was so cringy yesterday watching that press conference. And he brings out the sleeveless
North Carolina jacket.
Oh, my gosh.
Here is Bubba Cunningham introducing Bill Belichick yesterday as a new head coach of the Tar Heels.
We are known as the University of National Champions, and we have a Super Bowl champion coach who's here to lead the program.
Carolina Technical College.
With him today is also Michael Lombardi, former general manager in the NFL. And the future of college athletics is changing, and we want to be in the forefront of that. Coach Belichick has demonstrated his passion for teaching, for coaching, and for lifelong learning, and he is an absolute perfect fit for us at this time in the history of the university and the history of college sports. Please welcome the new head football coach at the University of North Carolina, Coach Bill Belichick.
There you go. Introduction was interesting. It's like, here's the thing, and then we'll get a couple of hoodie cuts. My first thought is this doesn't work. It's like college coaches going to the NFL typically don't work if you've never had any NFL coaching experience at all. Straight to college, we can count them on one hand. Then you look at NFL with no college experience going to college, typically doesn't work.
Typically doesn't happen.
Right, because most NFL guys don't ever want to go and coach in college unless they can't get an NFL head coaching gig anymore.
Which...
No, we could say it.
I think no, it's not that. I'm just like I think it's true because look, I think he was definitely in the running for that Falcons job. I thought it was going to go to him. I thought it should have went to him because look, he's the greatest coach of all time. And look, tell me that Don Shula's the greatest coach, cool, but I think Bill is definitely the greatest coach, despite not having the wins record. Like,
I look at it this way: I think Belichick's the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL.
Yes.
And so, if you're the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. And you've done the things Bill Belichick has achieved. And I get it. The last couple of years in New England sucked. And there's a perception, well, Brady propped up Belichick. I don't believe it. I think they both propped up each other. And the idea, Bill's 72 years old. I get all that. Bill's got the personality, of a used paper towel. I understand all of it. But at the end of the day, this is the guy who has 6 rings as a head coach. And I know he's a control freak. He wants to run. I get all that stuff. But have the perspective of Bill Belichick. He's got that resume we just brought up, right?
Yep.
And no one's offering him a gig in the NFL to be a head coach. All the stuff we just said, he goes like this. Again, look at my rings. Look at my wins. Look at what I've done. But the NFL does not want him as a head coach.
No.
They just don't. That's reality. He wants to coach. And I said this yesterday, where can you have, like when Bill had all that control with the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
Where can you go, Jack Veltri, to get all that control again?
The University of National Champions.
Exactly. And that's who they are, UNC, baby.
Apparently so, which I guess that's a thing. I guess it's a thing in Chapel Hill. I've never heard that until now. Never heard that until now.
Or UNC.
Yeah. That must be what it stands for.
So, Belichick, again, the first thought is this doesn't work. It never works. And then I started thinking, well, could it work? Because this guy, he's a football savant, man. He's an X's and O's dude. He knows football. For a while, he was a guy that was evolving. I think he stopped evolving, and that hurt him in New England at the end. Bringing in Mike Lombardi, I go, you're going to bring in the cronies? Really? If Bill Belichick hires a young staff of guys who can go recruit and can, help him relate to these young players, that's a step in the right direction to maybe be successful. The other thing, though, is, and this is the other one, Jack, you know it, he's got to go out and shake hands and kiss babies and start sucking up to folks.
Yeah.
Can he do it?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if he really can because he hasn't done it in the college level before. We don't have any track record to go off of. It's such a different sport compared to, yes, it's growing closer to the NFL and money and stuff, but it's still different. The fact of like the NFL, you're not going to a player's house to, sit down with his family and stuff
and pretend like you like the dinner they just made you.
No, like it's not like that. It's not reality in the NFL. You call the agent and stuff and you go from there. But no, I mean, like this is totally different. And I wonder what his staff is going to look like. Is it going to be like Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, like all the Patriot Way guys?
That won't work. If that's what they're going to do, that won't work.
I don't think it will. But I think you need to mix. You can have your NFL guys on staff, not a problem. But you need to have college guys in there. You need to have people on your staff that know what they're doing with the college ranks, because I don't even think Bill's going to be doing the hands-on, going on visits and stuff and being on the phone 24/7 with these recruits. Like, no, like that's not going to happen. He'll have guys doing that, and then when they are ready to make the final offer or whatever, Bill comes in.
He's the closer. Right.
He's the closer. Mm-hmm. That's all it needs to be.
I think if you've got to have enough guys on the staff who understand the college game,
yes,
and how to navigate the college game and can relate to the players and recruit and go to that high school in Montana and watch that kid play. And like Shane, they once a week they get on the phone for an hour and call recruits.
Yep.
I don't think Bill's going to do that.
No, I don't think so.
I think also Bill is underestimating how much different the college game is from the NFL game. I really think he's underestimating what he's getting himself into.
It's so different. And you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids. Mm-hmm. The older you get, I was listening to this on the radio the other day. The older guys you get, they're going to understand, like, okay, like, I want to go to the NFL. I'm going to go with this guy. An 18-year-old kid, he might not see it that way, because he's an 18-year-old kid. But a guy that's like 23 years old, they get it. But
all right, I mean, the Patriots haven't won a Super Bowl in what?
2019?
2019 or something? When they beat the Rams?
Yeah.
Okay, that's like let's say 5 years. Let's just put a 5-year line on it. That 18-year-old was 13.
It's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The 18-year-old was 13.
Like, not that far removed.
All right, here's Bill Belichick. Dave, let's hit one. Here is the hoodie. Let's go cut to his opening statement once he took the mic at the presser yesterday.
Chancellor Bubba, thank you. I can't express my gratitude to both of you, the Board of Trustees, for this amazing opportunity. I've always wanted to coach in football, coach in college football, and it just never really worked out. Had some good years in the NFL, so that was okay. But this is really kind of a dream come true. I grew up in college football with my dad. As the coach at Navy for 50 years, so as a kid, all I knew was college football, and so it's great to come back home to Carolina and back in an environment that I really grew up in. When you're little, you don't remember everything. Obviously, I was too young to remember a lot of things from Carolina, but as I grew up, you hear the same story over and over and over and over again, and so. One story I always heard was Billy's first words were, "Beat Duke."
Oh my gosh!
Are you gonna be okay?
That was so just. I'm watching that. I'm like, wait.
Hey, he was trying, right?
He was you know what? He's fitting in with the crowd. I highly doubt that those were his first words.
You don't believe that, Jack?
No, I don't. I don't believe that for a second, Terry. No. Look, I think here's the thing. It's all year one. I think we know is going to be tough. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like I was mentioning this yesterday with Elijah. Year one. Shane Beamer, for instance, the fact that he won 7 games in year one and coincidentally beat UNC in the bowl game, stuff like that doesn't happen all the time. It's tough to recruit and bring in a roster and all that, let alone as a guy who's never coached at college before. After that, year 2, 3, 4, depending on how far he wants to go, I could see it improving. And here's the thing. Is UNC really going to be competing for national championships? First off, they got to compete for an ACC championship first. They got to get out of the bottom of the league because it's so much harder to win at this level, I think. Obviously, NFL's tough, but it's 32 teams. This is 125 FBS teams.
Yeah, I think that, look, I've read this and I've heard this from people who have covered Belichick, is away from football, this dude has actually got a sense of humor, a personality. I mean, right now he's got what, a 19-year-old girlfriend, whatever. I mean, she might be going to school at UNC. He hangs out with John Bon Jovi. He's going to have to bring some of that personality now and open it up. I mean, his press conferences were famous for how bland and boring, and his one-word answers were. We started to play drinking games on his one-word answers at press conferences. He can't do that now. He's got to be a different dude. You can do that in the NFL because you were posting W's and winning championships. Now you're selling a program that's been underachieving for years. Everybody thinks it's a sleeping giant. You gotta bring out some of that wow, cool Bill personality that no one sees except the people behind the scenes in his life.
We're on to Duke. Like, you can't be pulling that. Like, you have to go. Again, and you're dealing with so many more people than you were in the NFL. You're not answering to just Robert Kraft anymore. It's the boosters. It's the chancellor. It's the AD. It's the players and their parents and stuff. It's all this stuff that you didn't have to deal with in the NFL, which is why I'm confused why he wants to do it. But again, he loves football. He loves college football. So I get it. But like, I don't know, man. I hope for the best. I do. It's not going to tarnish his legacy.
No, his legacies. They don't come back and take your legacy away from you if you stink as a college coach. All right, we will come back. There was something interesting happened last night in Thursday Night Football. It had nothing to do with the score of the game. That's next on the Extra Point on the Game. Extra point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler. Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central with us. Captain Dave has posted as we roll on up until 10. You know, the 49er Ram Thursday night football game was if you had trouble sleeping, turn that sucker on, you'd have been out by like the third quarter. This was the final play to mercifully end this thing. Hit it, Dave.
Extra rush. And they're going to end the game with a sack. So the Rams, instead of sending 3, dropping 8, sent 5. Roseboom gets credit for the sack, and the Rams have now won 7 of their last 9.
All right, so the Rams are making a playoff push. The 49ers are pushing themselves out of the playoff picture. They're pretty much done. Tons of injuries, underachieving, rough season and in the Bay Area. But the story of the game is what happened afterwards. Once we find out that Devondre Campbell, when he first came into the league in Green Bay, played really well. I believe he was all pro one of his early years with the Packers. And then he's kind of slid down a bit. Niners signed him. He had a starting gig this year, lost his starting gig. And so last night, now the 49ers dressed 4 backers last night.
Yep.
So when the starters got hurt, Kyle Shanahan basically looked over to Devondre Campbell and said, yeah, we need you to get in the game, man. Devondre Campbell went, you know what, Coach? I think I'm good over here on the sideline. Thanks anyway, though, for the offer. So Campbell said he didn't want to play, walked to the locker room with a towel over his head. Couple of teammates were asked about it, and they said, well, we don't know enough to comment. Tight end George Kittle knew enough to comment. Corner Chardarius Ward knew enough to comment. And they weren't very complimentary toward Campbell. I mean, if it's me and I'm the head coach and you tell me you don't want to play, I'm not going to tell you to walk to the locker room. I'm going to say, go to the locker room, get your gear, in full gear, walk to the airport.
Yep.
You will never, ever be anywhere near this organization ever again.
The fact that we haven't heard that he's been released yet is mind-boggling. He better be cut. Like that stuff, you can't have stuff like that on your team. And it's also, the locker room's broken now, essentially, because of this one dude. And the 49ers season's, it's over. Like, they're not making the playoffs, whatever. You don't do stuff like that. I get that, he's pissed that, his playing time's been reduced and stuff. And, he had a starting role and it's been diminished. I get that. But, like, you don't do that. When your team needs you and you decide to do that. I thought Antonio Brown a few years ago was...
Remember that goofy?
My gosh.
Wow.
I thought that was like the only time I was ever going to see something like that where a guy just quits on his team. Vontae Davis is another example with the Bills back in the day.
Retired, remember?
At halftime. At halftime. Like, I thought that was the last time I had seen that sort of stuff. But no. We're always proven wrong, and guys just do these insane things that we don't ever expect.
I mean, all right, your butt hurt. You lost your starting gig. Guess what? Get in line, man. You know how many guys in the NFL lose a starting job?
Yeah, and get over it.
And they still go in the game when their team needs them?
Exactly.
That was... And I'll be honest with you, if I'm a GM of another team,
never sign this guy.
Right, we need a linebacker. Guess what? I'm not signing.
Go to the XFL. Go to the CFL. Honestly, don't even take him. Let him go coach somewhere.
I'll go to a local flag football league. You guys got any guys out here who are big enough to play linebacker? I would not sign Devondre Campbell if I was out of linebackers.
No. Like,
no,
you don't want that guy on your team, because then he has the reputation now of he's the guy that quit on his team mid-game.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't do that. And
it's unreal.
It's unreal. I fully agreed with Kittle leaving it all on the line yesterday, like saying and I the other guy had said how selfish he is for doing that. It's true.
Was it Chardavius Ward, the corner, called it a sucker move?
Yeah,
and then threw a little bit of profanity in it too.
Yeah.
But I love Kittle, because Kittle. You could cut off George Kittle's legs and he would crawl on the field to play tight end.
Exactly.
And then so when Kittle finds out his teammate pulls this because the guy lost his starting gig, that's the word we hear. Kittle started talking about it, and the more Kittle talked about, the madder he was getting. The more annoyed he was getting about it.
You could hear it in his voice.
Yeah, he's saying it out loud. He's like...
And Kittle's a good dude.
Oh, Kittle's a great... Well, someone said about Kittle... recently, if you don't like Kittle, it's a you problem.
It is.
Because he's a dude. He is just a regular dude.
He's a guy.
But he's a football player, and like the dictionary definition of football player is Kittle. And when Kittle finds out one of his guys on his team refused to go in the game, Kittle is, I mean, you could probably cook an egg on his head by the time he was finished with that conversation with the media.
Most definitely. I will ask, is this the end of the 49ers Super Bowl window?
Yeah, it is.
I think it's over.
You're not paying Purdy. So he's going to move on at the end of the year. Unless he's going to take a team-friendly deal, you're not paying Purdy franchise quarterback money.
No.
You got to figure out what you're going to do. Deebo Samuel's production has gone down this year. Ayuk's coming back from an ACL. Bosa's always
Kittle's
hurt
getting
on and
older.
off. Kittle's getting older. Trent Williams, you're a high-level left tackle, is what, 40 years old, 45, 50, it feels like. I think their window shut last year when they lost to the Chiefs.
Yep.
That's just me.
Yeah, so.
Their window's still open for your Bills. Hey,
For now.
Good hanging out with you, man.
Yeah, man.
All
Great
right,
hanging out with you.
Good deal. All right. Extra point here on the game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Take up to $20K off new Silverados. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Hey, want to tell you about our show sponsor, PL Wine Pool and Spa. They're an award-winning swimming pool builder that's been in the business for 25 years with more than 40 years of pool construction experience. They service the entire Midlands area, whether you're looking for weekly cleaning maintenance or chlorine to salt conversion with services like safety cover installs and safety fence installs. They're the best of the best at what they do. You can check out all their offerings at the showroom in Lexington, South Carolina, and talk to their experts about any and everything you might need. I know whenever I purchase a home and I want to get a pool in the backyard, because let's face it, who wouldn't want to have a pool in their backyard? I am going to PL Wine Pool and Spa, and I highly recommend you guys do the same as well. Their retail store is located at 5541 Sunset Boulevard, and you can check out all their offerings, you can also check them out online at plwinepools.com.
All right, extra point. Terry Ford hanging for Tyler today here on the game. David Ayer hanging out with us as well. As we roll up to 11 in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Wes and Chris and David Ayer here on the game. All right, if you didn't hear, Kyle Kennard, more accolades for Kyle Kennard, Walter Camp, first team All-American. Kyle Kennard, it just keeps happening over and over and over again for Kyle Kennard. Just a phenomenal year. Almost eclipsed Jadeveon Clowney's single-season sack mark. And, there were games that, Kennard just wrecked game plans. Or the first quarter of the LSU game, the Bama game. Kyle Kennard did some fine work this year. And Jack and I talked about it again. A guy that came through the transfer portal, you're like, all right, veteran pass rusher. Guy had 8 sacks in 2023. Cool. Get a guy with some experience and some production. But, I can't remember anybody saying, dude could win the Nagurski Award and be a first-team All-American. That's what Kyle Kennard's done. Also has moved himself up on draft boards. It was Field Yates put out his mock draft for ESPN.com the other day, and he had Kyle Kennard in the lower part of the first round. And it felt like, we talked about it, on the halftime show. Feel like Kennard definitely will go in the second round of the draft and possibly could sneak up in the bottom of the first round. Just depends on how the silly season goes for Kennard, which I always think is funny how you can improve your draft stock because you go to the combine and run around in your underwear for a couple days. But that's what happens. But Kyle Kennard's tape shows that he should be a legitimate, at the very least, day 2 draft pick. I think second round guy and possibly sneak into the bottom of the first round. So Kyle Kennard's helped his draft stock a ton with his performance on the field. I think there are a lot of guys on that defense that help themselves. Kyle Kennard, I think Demetrius Knight's draft stock went up. TJ Sanders' draft stock went up. I believe Nicky Manwari's draft stock went up. O'Donnell Fortune. I think there are some guys who improved their draft positions by the way they played this year. And so we'll be hearing some Gamecock defenders sprinkling through the 3 days of the NFL draft, hearing their names. I think even Tonka Hemingway might have improved how NFL scouts look at him. Tonka's kind of a tweener. Not big enough to play defensive tackle, not explosive enough to play the edge. He's a tweener. Not to say there's not a spot in the NFL for him, but he's a tweener. But he might have improved scouts' thoughts of him after this season as well. The defense was just so good. And we've gone over this. A lot of these guys are going to play in the league. Even if they're not drafted, they'll have a shot to stick with teams. A lot of guys on this defense, in some way, shape, or form, will get direct deposit from the NFL. But Kyle Kennard, first team Walter Camp. We haven't really talked a ton about the awards, or I haven't on the halftime show. To me, obviously, the Heisman's going to Travis Hunter. Nothing against, Ashton Jeanty at Boise State. Had a phenomenal year, obviously. One of the best single-season rushing years for a running back in the history of college football. Boise State's in the college football playoff. They only lost one game all year. That was a 3-point loss to number 1 Oregon in Eugene. So, Jeanty had a phenomenal year. Dylan Gabriel was really good at Oregon. There are guys who you go, yeah. But what Travis Hunter did was just so different. He played wide receiver at a high level, played corner at a high level. Colorado, won more games than anybody thought they would win. And one of the main reasons was Travis Hunter. If I had to vote for the Heisman, I'd vote for Hunter just because if we're saying, and it's not the best player in college football, let's be honest. That's not what the award is given out to anymore. Usually it's given out to the best quarterback on the most successful team. But no one's doing what Travis Hunter is at that level. He's playing, 1 million snaps a game. And he's playing at a high level on offense and defense. Just no one's doing that. And to me, you hand that dude the Heisman. You just do. And he's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. So this weekend, the Heisman should go to Travis Hunter. He also won AP Player of the Year and the Biletnikoff Award as well. Home Depot Coach of the Year, that went to our buddy Sig. Curt Cignetti at Indiana. I get it. Indiana only lost 1 game. And they built that whole team through the transfer portal. Kind of got a late start. And what Cignetti and his staff did to put the team together to go, 11-1 and go in the college football playoff? No one was picking Indiana to go to the college football playoff. Not even Curt Cignetti. No one sober was picking Indiana. A phenomenal coaching job by Curt Cignetti. So he gets Home Depot Coach of the Year. Tyler Warren at Penn State, to the shock of no one, gets the Mackey Award as the best tight end in America. I mean, Warren's a weapon at tight end. If you didn't watch any game, but you got to see him play against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, you see what Penn State does with Tyler Warren. Very creative stuff. Very creative. The Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award for the top upperclassman quarterback went to Shedeur Sanders. Again, not a surprise. We're talking about the Lombardi. Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle at Texas, outstanding offensive tackle at Texas, won the Lombardi Award for best lineman. And I'll see anything. And also, Kelvin Banks Jr. won the Outland Trophy, top interior lineman. And you want to throw another one? Travis Hunter won the Paul Hornung Award for most versatile athlete. So that's some of the awards that have been given out. And like I said, we will see the Heisman most definitely go to Travis Hunter. One of them, I've been talking about Jim Thorpe Award, goes to Jobade Barron. They're a really good safety at Texas. So some of these other awards haven't come out yet. There's some other coaching awards. And obviously, Ashton Jeanty won the Doak Walker Award for top running back. Oh, the O'Brien Award, Cam Ward, quarterback at Miami for top quarterback. Cam Ward won that. And was it Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Austin Jeanty, and Travis Hunter in New York for the Heisman? Again, Boise State, they had Kellen Moore there for the Heisman years ago. So they've had a guy there before. But anytime you get a group of 5 player at the Heisman ceremony, that's a big deal. Absolutely. Oh, and Jalen Walker of Georgia won the top linebacker, the Butkus Award. I mean, Travis Hunter he must have got tired walking up to the stage. He also won the Bednarik Award for best defensive player. There are people, if you look at the grades and look at Pro Football Focus isn't the end-all, be-all when it comes to grades. But if you look at the grades for Travis Hunter, he is top level both at corner and at wide receiver. And in the NFL, again, if you draft him, you should try to see if you can make him a true two-way player. Obviously, he can't play every snap, or I guess, like he has in college. But what makes him so special is that versatility where he can impact the game on both sides of the ball. Whoever drafts him should continue to do that. But there are people that say he can play wide receiver or corner in the NFL and could project out to be good. So, and a little bit of the awards, but circling back, another attaboy to Kyle Kennard being on the Walter Camp first team All-America list. And obviously, we've seen Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart get love in all freshman teams to the surprise of no one. So a lot of accolades going to South Carolina. Shane Beamer has won a Coach of the Year award in the SEC. Clark Lee got it, I think, the official Coach of the Year award from the SEC coaches. And look, I get it. If you can go 500 at Vanderbilt, you should get an award, I guess. Maybe a statue. And, Vandy was picked at the bottom, and they go 6-6. Obviously, you can make a case for Shane. South Carolina picked 11th, and the Gamecocks win 9. And like I was telling Jack, I'm at SEC Media Days, and dudes are asking me who's going to be the coach at South Carolina in 2025 after Shane gets let go after this year. And I was like, Shane ain't going anywhere. Not after 2024. I was like, Shane Beamer, I was telling him, I said, my opinion, Shane Beamer gets 2 more years. Well, he's going to get a lot more than that after a 9-win season. There's probably some contract extension coming. Would not be surprised. So, Good offseason so far for South Carolina in the awards category. And Kyle Kennard, again, first team Walter Camp All-American. All right, we got into this a little bit with Jack Veltri in the last segment. Bill Belichick takes over, or last hour. Bill Belichick takes over as a head coach at North Carolina. Again, this usually doesn't work. This never works, where a coach goes from the NFL with zero head coaching experience in college, zero coaching experience, period, in college, goes off and becomes a head coach on the collegiate level and is wildly successful. It just does not happen. I mean, Herm Edwards won. I mean, they vacated the wins because of the trouble with the NCAA. But Herm had 3 winning seasons at Arizona State. But they were never, truly competing to win the Pac-12 or anything. They were above average program under Herm for 3 seasons. And then all of a sudden, everything obviously went in a crapper when you found out that Herm wasn't following some of the NCAA rules during COVID. So, but it typically doesn't work. Just like the college coaches going to the NFL, very rarely works if you don't have any NFL experience because it's just so different. All of it's different. College kids, grown men. Yeah, you're dealing with an owner and maybe a general manager, but in college you're dealing with boosters and big money people and, recruiting teenagers and their families and all that, shaking hands and kissing babies and smiling and telling stories and talking to people you don't want to talk to for 2 hours. That's the world you live in college, and some of these NFL dudes go, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. That's what Bill's putting himself into. Well, here's some Bill Belichick cuts coming back. Also talk a little bit about the hoodie and his attempt to be a successful college football coach. That's coming up. It is the Extra Point. Terry Ford hanging out for Tyler. Dave's here. We run till 11 in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour on the game. Extra point, Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler as he takes a day off. Why, I don't know. Guess the holidays and all that mess. All that stuff. Buying presents and seeing family and all that nonsense that we all do. But Dave, the good thing about your family is going to see the family always goes like this. That first, half hour is cool. Haven't seen people in a year. Hey, what's up? What are you doing? What are you doing? What's up? And you start talking and laughing and joking and telling some stories. And after about a half hour, you look at each other. I'm about done. Let's open some presents and get out of here.
Well, if I go up to Ware Shoals, that's where my dad's family is. There's like 17,000 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we all, they farm. So you go out and get on the big bay hills. Bay hills? Hay bales.
Bay hills, hay bales. Don't worry about it, Dave. It's the same thing.
And there are 12 ponds that they own. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really great.
Yeah, my dad's family is from the hills of North Carolina, around the North Carolina-Tennessee border. And, every year, you go up, the tradition was you go, everybody, the big family, it's like a reunion, you hang out. Then at some point, someone says, hey, let's go over and look at the cemetery. Well, we got a big family cemetery. And, the first couple times you go, because it's like tombstones from like 1860 or whatever, and you're like, this is kind of cool. But after your fifth or sixth trip over, it's same tombstones. You might add somebody or whatever over the year, like Aunt Myrtle might, die, but yeah.
We've got one of those too.
Let's go look at the family cemetery, y'all.
Yeah,
okay.
This one's on Greenville and Lawrence County. Mm-hmm. Straddles the line. It's really old.
Yeah.
Like my great grandfather.
I know. Say like people dying in 1864, and of course someone will know they died from diphtheria. What? They died from what?
The TB came and took
exactly. Oh man. So hope you enjoy your holiday season traveling. Tyler taking a day off, and also Monday as well. All right, Bill Belichick, the head coach at North Carolina. It's weird. It's still weird to say it out loud. And now you're getting to see some deep dives written by some folks. Seth Wickersham, ESPN.com, excellent writer. Seth put out a piece. Basically, some of the stuff, not that, we had any kind of inside intel to Bill Belichick, but if you think about it for a minute, and if you pay attention, especially, to the NFL, Bill Belichick's not going to leave the NFL and go to the University of North Carolina if he's got a legitimate chance to coach in the NFL. Just not going to do it. There's no offense to college coaching. Just Bill Belichick will not leave the NFL and go to college if he had a real opportunity to coach in the NFL again, be a head coach. And, Jack and I went over some things. Bill is one of those guys, it feels like, that you put up with him if you're winning. Because it's really weird. Football Bill and regular life Bill are totally different. Football Bill, again, it's got the sense of humor of a doorknob. You see those press conferences. We laughed at those press conferences because they were so cringy with Bill Belichick. The way he dealt with football people, the way he dealt with some players, the way he was not some charismatic person. Now, don't get me wrong. There were players who played for him who did love him. But a lot of players were like, I love playing for New England because we win, and we win Super Bowls. Not, I love playing for New England because I love Coach Belichick. And when you are posting a ton of W's and holding up Lombardis, people will put up with, maybe parts of your personality that aren't so personable, right? And so when things started to go sideways in New England, because I just really believe what made Bill successful also cratered him. He got to the point where he wasn't evolving like he was for a long time. Man, he used to be on the tip of evolution. He became, New England became a crony factory for his boys, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and Josh McDaniel, and they just recycle through, bring dudes back to coach. It felt like he wasn't ingraining a lot of young minds with new ideas and concepts like he did before. And, I think Bill looked at every position the same, that eventually you are going to be expendable. And we're going to get rid of you a year or two before you start to fall off in performance. We'd rather get rid of you a year early than a year late. And that makes sense for every position on the field except quarterback. And misreading the quarterback position in New England, to me, was Bill's doom. I don't subscribe to the fact that Tom Brady made Bill Belichick. No, I think Tom Brady made Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick made Tom Brady. I think together is what made New England so special and why they won 6 rings. Apart, they could have still been successful. They wouldn't have won as much. I think together, along with all those other pieces in New England from Gronk, Richard Seymour, Ty Law, Teddy Bruschi, all of the people that made that successful. But I think Belichick and Brady apart wouldn't have been as successful. I think they need to be together. So I don't buy into the fact that, Brady made Belichick. No, I think they made each other. But anyway, Bill, though, looked at Brady the same way. Let's get rid of him early before his performance starts going downhill. Then waiting until his performance goes downhill, then we're in trouble. Yes, that's not the way you deal with the process of a Hall of Fame quarterback. You just let it go until it does finally, hit the wall. Look what Brady did in Tampa. Bill Belichick totally misread the room. Totally misread the room at quarterback, and that's what led to his undoing in New England the last couple of years. And also totally misread the idea that he thought, I can just plug coaches in anywhere, it'll work. I mean, it's just ball, it's football. We all know football. Putting Matt Patricia, who had never been an offensive coordinator, and Joe Judge, who had never been an offensive coordinator, and making them the offensive brain trust to develop Matt Jones might have been one of the worst coaching moves we've ever seen any coach make in the last 10 years. Just an asinine move. Any other head coach did that, we'd have been going, give this cat a breathalyzer. But it was the greatest coach in NFL history. So we're like, hey, Bill knows what he's doing. Well, not all the time. So the end of the regime in New England for Belichick, some people in the NFL went, ooh, maybe he's not so geniusy after all. And then the door opens to, he's in his 70s. And the door opens to, after that, the next step is, well, maybe it was more Brady than Belichick. And then it opens up to, well, he's not the easiest person to work with. So all those doors start opening. So the NFL was done for Belichick. No one was going to hire him and give him the control he had in New England. And to be honest, Bill was saying, hey, I don't need total control. You can say that in theory until you show up. And people start doing things you go, that's not right. Or I do it this way. I do it that way. You can't take the control freak out of a control freak. You just can't. So Bill's at North Carolina because he couldn't get an NFL gig. Let's just be honest. Now here's Bill Belichick, Dave. Let's grab this cut. It's the one about developing pros. Bill talked in his opening riff about his goals at North Carolina with the football program. Hit it, Dave.
Excited to be here, excited to be in college football, excited for the opportunity to build and develop young student athletes, young men, and prepare them for their life, either in the NFL or professionally. But the lessons they learn will be professional lessons. They'll be pros in all areas, and that's what we want to develop, as well as having a winning program, a successful program. But we want to develop good people and good kids.
So, again, we're going to get guys ready to go be pros in life, whether it's pro football, professional accounting, professional wrestling, professional fast food, whatever they're going to do in life, we want to make them ready to be pros. And look, that's great. It is. You want to put them out in the world ready to tackle their professional lives. Good idea. That's really the goal, to be good people. But you were brought to North Carolina not to do that. You were brought to North Carolina to win games and to get the Tar Heels to that next level of winning consistently 9, 10, 11 games, to be fighting for the ACC championship, to try to get into the college football playoff, to take a program that is underachieved pretty much my whole life for the most part and make them achieve at the level that they should. That's what you're hired to do there, Bill. Great idea with to make them pros and make them good people. Look, we all want you to do that, but here at North Carolina, we want you to win a lot of games. The interesting part, too, is Belichick's buyout drops from $10 million to $1 million. I think it's June 1st of 2025, I read. What that means, it's interesting. Some people are like, see, he could just go back to the NFL if they offer him a gig. But that's not the way the timeline works in the NFL. The timeline in the NFL is totally different. You don't hire coaches June 2nd in the NFL. So there were people saying, wow, he'd go right back to the NFL and not coach a game at North Carolina. No, that's not the way. That's not the way they handle the business model of hiring coaches in the league. But it is interesting. He goes from $10 million to $1 million. That might mean after 1 year he'll go, I can't do this. What have I done? I got to get back to the NFL. Or if he has a really good year at North Carolina and shows that he can do what he's being brought there to do, win at a high level, then the NFL looks at him different. Maybe goes back to the league. We'll see what happens, but very interesting. But yeah, make no mistake, Bill Belichick is at North Carolina because he couldn't get an NFL gig as a head coach. That's just that's the top thing here of all of it. All right, extra point, Terry Ford. Appreciate you hanging out with us, hanging in for Tyler. We'll circle back if you haven't been looking at the list lately. We'll get you caught up on the confirmed visits for South Carolina, transfer portal visitors. We'll get into that next. Extra point, Terry Ford, David Dare, rolling till 11. Then the Gamecock Central takeover hour, fellas, will jump in here on the game. Oh, what we're talking about, Carolina football, transfer portal. Visits are being lined up. And obviously, if you look at the roster going just right now, because obviously it can change and evolve, and guys can go in the portal and all sorts of things. You are looking at interior defensive linemen because you're losing a ton. Be good to get another edge pass rusher across from Dylan Stewart. Got to replenish your linebacker room. Be nice to get a veteran offensive lineman to go with all the youngins you have. A veteran wide receiver to go in that room, who in a perfect world could be we know we got this guy as a go-to while the other wide receivers develop. And possibly a running back. I mean, I like Hal. Fuller, the freshman's interesting. Attaway could be back for another year, but it would be good to add another vet. Right now, here's what it looks like. And tight end, because you are losing Josh Simon, your leading receiver. You do have Michael Smith, the young tight end who showed flashes last year. Brady Hunt was hurt at the end of the season, but you're hoping Brady Hunt will come back as well. But it would be good to add another tight end to the mix. So far, confirmed visits. Nick Sharp, offensive lineman, Wake Forest. Zach Atkins, tight end, Northwest Missouri State. Defensive lineman, Gabriel Brownlow Dindy from Texas A&M. Linebacker, Andrew Jones Grambling, very interesting player in the portal. Defensive lineman, Kelby Collins from Florida. 2 offensive linemen, Derek Simmons, Western Carolina. Jordan White, Liberty. Defensive back, Miles Norwood, Ball State. Jones is interesting, the linebacker from Grambling. You look at stats and just kind of read up on him. He's athletic, he's fast. He had over 100 tackles last year at Grambling. Bunch of tackles for loss. I mean, he's a dude that, again, he's got to jump from Grambling to the SEC, but athletically, that's what you're looking for. And production-wise is what you're looking for. Can he translate it to playing in the Southeastern Conference? Obviously, always a question mark, but he's interesting. He really is. Brownlow Dindy from Texas A&M was a 5-star kid coming out of high school, part of that historic A&M recruiting class. He's been hurt and kind of stuck in neutral in College Station. But, he had a lot of folks loved him coming out of high school. Another one, Jordan White at Liberty, who is, I believe, center, had some good production at Liberty. So he'll come in for a visit. Kelby Collins, the defensive lineman from Florida, has played the edge. He's played the interior. He's got some versatility. Carolina recruited him out of high school. I believe he was a 4-star, if I remember correctly. So he's interesting as well. So we'll see what direction all this goes regarding the transfer portal, but that's a couple names in the portal that have confirmed visits. So we'll see how that all plays itself out. Now, Dane Key, the wide receiver from Kentucky, who, when he was coming out of high school, was between Kentucky and South Carolina. Dane Key's had some good moments at Kentucky as a wide receiver the last 3 years. So the hope was maybe get Dane Key to South Carolina. Doesn't seem like it's trending that way. His teammate, Barry Brown, wide receiver kick returner, everything points to LSU for Barry Brown. But at wide receiver, if you haven't heard about this, Casey Concepcion, who's a very interesting player. Freshman year at NC State, put up really nice numbers. Played wide receiver, played some running back. They moved him all over the field like a chess piece on offense. And Casey Concepcion, very productive. Last year, not as productive. There were some issues at quarterback. Grayson McCall was supposed to be the guy. But once again, he had some concussion issues. Basically, McCall's done. And they had to do some maneuvering at quarterback. So Concepcion's overall numbers came down, but he's a guy that's a playmaker. There's going to be a lot of folks that want to get in on Casey Concepcion. South Carolina's trying to get Concepcion in for a visit. He is in Concepcion's top 6. They are, I should say, South Carolina. So we'll see where that goes. Another wide receiver that South Carolina is going to be focusing on is Horatio Fields from Wake Forest. So we'll see what happens there. Fields was their leading receiver in receptions and yards, averaged about 12 yards a catch. So Horatio Fields also could be in the mix to pop in for a visit at South Carolina. We'll see. But no one is, committed to come to South Carolina yet. A lot of visits are set up. But, the Gamecocks are in a much better place than they were last year. And look how well they did in the portal last year. With Kyle Kennard, Demetrius Knight, Rocket Sanders. I mean, it worked out really well for South Carolina. Plus, Jared Brown, when healthy, had some moments at wide receiver. Campbell, the last few games of the season, started making plays all over the place. Gage Larvidan had some moments. You had DeAndre Jules help out on the defensive line as well. So the transfer portal was really good to the Gamecocks last year, coming off of that 5-7 season. Now you have even more momentum with going 9-3 in the regular season. So hopefully the portal will be good again. Again, you can't live and die through the portal, but you're hoping also some of the, top 20 recruiting classes you've had the last couple of years are going to start to develop. You had a bunch of young offensive linemen. Hopefully they can, hit that next level or two and become, solid, at least solid offensive linemen in the SEC. You've got some interesting young linebackers, wide receiver with Mazio Bennett, Nick Harbor. You're hoping they'll take the next step as well. So, it's a combination, but that's the latest stuff happening in the transfer portal for South Carolina. All right, some other news and notes around the world of college football. A lot of coaching changes are happening, and a few big-time players have ended up in landing spots in the portal as well. We'll get you caught up on all that. Terry Ford, Extra Point, Captain Dave's here. We're going to give away some men's basketball tickets. What the heck, Dave? Let's do it. Dave, this is Dave's favorite part of producing the show. 803-404-6100. Let's go with caller number 5, Dave. 803-404-6100, a pair of men's basketball tickets for tomorrow's game against USC Upstate. 2 o'clock, they tip it. Our coverage starts here in Columbia at 107.5 and in Myrtle Beach at 100.3. The game at 1:30 with the pregame. And again, your chance to win tickets. Give us a ring right now. Caller number 5, 803-404-6100 gets a couple of tickets to check out some men's hoops tomorrow at CLA. What's been happening in the world of college football with coaching moves and transfer portal commitments? We'll try to get you caught up the best we can next. Halftime show. That's later, Dave. Extra Point. Terry Ford hanging out for Tyler on the game. Extra point. Terry Ford hanging in for Tyler today here on the game. Wes and Chris coming up at 11. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Appreciate you. Busy weekend. 1:30, like we just talked about. The men take on USC Upstate. 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip. Sunday, the women will host South Florida. Again, 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip right here on the game. All right, so the transfer portal, we talked about it with South Carolina. Obviously, there's some guys are committing. This one's interesting. Missouri transfer edge defensive end Williams Nwaneri. If you remember, Nwaneri was a 5-star from the state of Missouri, and when he was in high school, that's when Missouri came out with their NIL deal, where if you were in high school and you commit to a state university, you can start getting NIL even before you get to that institution. It's kind of a surprise that Nwaneri went into the transfer portal. Didn't play a lot his freshman year, but I guess the thought was development his freshman year and then pop him in year 2. But Williams is now committed to Nebraska. 5-star. And, of course, Nwaneri did not burn a year of eligibility either, so he is a freshman going to Nebraska with his full eligibility. Ole Miss gets a commitment but from Charlotte transfer offensive lineman P.J. Wilkins, 6'7", 340 redshirt freshman. Only played 2 games last year, though, at Charlotte. A lot of the Oklahoma Sooner offense is in the portal, and your first thought is, yeah, but their offense stunk. Yeah. How much of it were the players? How much of it was the system, the coordinator, the play calling? Who knows? Jackson Arnold's in, obviously the quarterback. Most people think he will land at Mississippi State to go with his old OC, Jeff Lebby. But I'm looking here. 6 wide receivers, tight end, 2 offensive linemen, 2 running backs, ton of folks, including Brennan Thompson, wide receiver, was a former Texas transfer, caught 26 balls for about 500 yards at Oklahoma. And coaching, we've been focusing on Bill Belichick, but you got Dan Mullen going to UNLV, Rich Rod coming back to West Virginia, which I think is interesting, Scott Frost going back to Central Florida. I think out of the 3, Mullen's got the best chance to succeed. I think Rich Rod, he ran that fancy spread offense with the running game concepts back in the day at West Virginia, and nobody was doing that back then. He was a trailblazer. Now a lot of people do it. I mean, I think Rich Rod will do better than Neil Brown, but I don't think West Virginia is going to be within a game of playing for a national championship again. And Scott Frost at Central Florida, I don't know. We'll see. Frost did a heck of a job at Central Florida the first time. Now they are in the Big 12. Let's see how much Frost learned from the epic fail that was his time at Nebraska, because he was really good at Central Florida. But I think Dan Mullen will go to UNLV, and this is Dan Mullen's wheelhouse, a program like this. He can go in, recruit the way he wants to, develop the way he wants to. He'll win, and everybody will be happy. So, all right, 803-404-6100. Speaking of transfer portal, James in Sumter's holding on. James, appreciate you hanging. You're on the Extra Point on the game. How you doing? Good morning.
Man, I'm doing well, man. How y'all fellas doing?
We're doing all right, man. Doing all right. I've had my 17th cup of coffee just now, so I'm kicking.
Oh, man, that sounds like a good day to me. Yeah, man, with this transfer portal, man, it's starting to level itself out a little bit. You still got kids that still just jumping in just because of the playing time thing, and don't want to really just bear down and work. But sometimes it's better for a kid to go ahead and get in that portal early so he can get to his next destination and maybe he can play. But as far as South Carolina transfer portal, I think Beamer does a good job with it. In my opinion, I don't think we need to hit it as hard when it comes to that wide receiver room, because I really think the wide receiver room is pretty much set. We've seen the big guy take a couple of good steps, the track star. He took a couple of good steps at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Maceo Bennett, he's a starting waiting for me at that slot. With him and if Brown returns, him and Brown in that slot, We may need to hit it a little bit to try to find another legitimate outside receiver. But I think with some of the young guys we got, I think we can pretty much plug and play with that. The rest of the roster, offensive line, I think is set. But when a kid want to come to you, you don't never turn a kid down, especially with this transfer portal era we in. If you got a good player that has interest in your program, you take them.
Dude,
but I really think that I really think that we in good position with that. And in my opinion, on you were just talking about Scott Frost.
Mm-hmm.
I think Central Florida is his wheelhouse. Some of these coaches got to just realize what they are. Some of y'all are not Power 4 or whatever they call it now coaches. They're not. Some of y'all just need to be able to where y'all can grind and develop kids, and that'll be your wheelhouse for the next 10 years. You can go there and be a successful coach for 10, 12 years. But some of y'all try to jump. Some of the coaches try to jump to this Power 4 conference. Everybody ain't built for this. That transfer portal is big. Sometimes it's more about getting kids that just pretty much waiting on the NFL other than being developed. Some of us need to develop kids, and some of those coaches need to be able to coach kids that pretty much waiting on the development.
I appreciate you, James. Thanks, man. We got to get ready to hit top of the hour. I mean, some guys are better fits in other places. We saw the Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema, really good at Wisconsin, the Big Ten. Brett Bielema at Arkansas, ugh. Now, Brett Bielema's back in the Big Ten, successful at Illinois, obviously playing the Citrus Bowl against South Carolina. Some guys are just better fits in certain levels or certain areas, and they don't work everywhere. Some dudes can go anywhere. I mean, look at Coach Sig, goes to Indiana, wins big, won big at James Madison, probably go win big anywhere. But some guys have a certain, like James said, wheelhouse to be successful. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can go home again. You're comfortable at Central Florida. They love you. Sometimes that going back home again, we went over some of those coaches the other day who are going back for their second bites of the apple at a university. The one that's the most successful, it's been different levels. Most of the time they're not as successful as the first time. Bill Snyder at Kansas State. First time, did one of the most historic rebuild jobs in the history of college football. Then he retired, and they said, Bill, can you come back? You're like, yeah, sure. And then they were good again once Bill Snyder showed back up. Because that man might be one of the most underrated head coaches of our generation. Hell of a coach. All right, Wes and Chris are going to take over, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. We'll be back in here to do the halftime show in a little bit. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out with us as we stepped in for Tyler here on the game in Columbia, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Again, Wes and Chris, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour next here on the game.
All right, what's up? Welcome in. Friday, I believe. Wes Mitchell here, Chris Clark. Man, we kept the train on the tracks last time, so they're letting us run the show again. Hope you all are having a good week. We're going to close it out here on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, brought to you, as always,